Back to the 3-minute Devar. Thank you for tuning in again. This week's portion is Parshat Balak. Balak talks about the king called Balak, who lived at the time the Jewish people were roaming through the desert. Balak was an anti-Semite, and he was nervous that the Jewish people were going to take over his land. Balak was so nervous about this that he thought he needed to hire the services of a man called Bilam. Bilam was renowned for being a sorcerer, was renowned for being someone who could pretty much bring out the worst in people. He wanted him to curse the Jewish people, and by cursing the Jewish people, highlight their vulnerabilities to God, and sort of, in a way, express to God how this people don't deserve to be the people which God thinks they have the ability to be. So Balak goes to Bilam and says, Bilam, please come with me. Well, he sends his men, and his men say to Bilam, please, Balak sent us to hire your services. Bilam says, I'm sorry, I can't go unless God gives me permission. God appears to Bilam in the middle of the night, and God says to Bilam, Bilam, don't go. Don't go with them. Don't curse the Jewish people. They're a blessed nation. This is not the right thing to do. Bilam wakes up in the morning and says to his guests, says to Balak's messengers, I'm sorry, the answer from God is no. The messengers go back to Balak. Balak sends back more men and tries to convince Bilam even more to come and curse the Jewish people. He's really set on this idea. Bilam sort of pleads the case to God. And eventually God says to Bilam, fine, if you want to go, you can go. And Bilam goes. He has some trouble along the way, but he goes, and to cut a long story short, he tries to curse the Jewish people, but God prevents him from doing so, and instead it makes sure that Bilam blesses the Jewish people instead of curses the Jewish people. When we look at this story, we must ask ourselves, what is the Torah trying to teach us with this story? As we know, the Torah is not just a history book of the Jewish people, but it's there to give us life lessons. What is the lesson? What is the message of this week's portion? The rabbis point out the one thing we learn from this story, this episode of Bilam, is we look at how originally God said to Bilam, don't go. It's not a good idea. It's bad for you. It's bad. It's a bad thing to do. And Bilam pushes and pushes, and eventually God says, fine, you can go. The rabbis understand from here a fundamental, and that is, in the way which a human being chooses to go, that is the way which God leads him. We make choices in life. We decide about our own lives which direction we'd like to go in. And once we've made that choice, once we've made that decision, that is the assistance that we get. That is the divine assistance that we get along that way. It's not that the divine assistance comes before we make a choice and then we use that assistance to then be the people we want to be, but it works the other way around. We look at the life we have ahead of us, or we look at whatever opportunities we have ahead of us, and we make a commitment to go down a certain path. We make a commitment to live and lead a certain life. And once we've made that commitment, and once we are set on that being the life we want to live, that is the assistance we get. That is the path down which God leads us. Bilam ultimately made the wrong choices. However, God recognized that if that is the direction Bilam wants to go in, God will help him go down that path. Will Bilam be successful in the end of the day? No. But ultimately, the direction, the journey that Bilam went on, the life that Bilam led, was assisted by God, because God allows us to create our own destinies, and God allows us to make our own choices in life. And it's the choices we make which defines how God helps us and what assistance we get. Food for thought for this week. Wishing you a Shabbat Shalom.